Let's imagine for a second that you're being sued. So that makes you the defendant, right? Plaintiff normally has their own attorney. As a defendant, you typically have to get your own. You may want to know, what does that have to do with mortgages or real estate? Well, hang on, I will explain in a second. And by the way, tell you why you don't want to have one attorney represent you on both sides of a lawsuit, and you don't want to have the same real estate agent represent the seller and you. Let's go. You're buying a house. You went out to an open house and it was presented by what's called a listing agent. It's basically an agent who actually works for the seller, who put the seller's house on the market for them. They have a signed contract. That signed contract, by the way, calls for what's called fiduciary responsibility from the agent to the seller. Anything you do and say, just like with the Miranda rights, anything you do and say can be used against you. Well, anything you tell as a buyer to the listing agent has to be related to the seller. So now you want to know, should you actually make your offer with the agent representing the seller? Again, imagine two parties in court. Do you want to share all of your confidential information with your attorney to only go and be told to the other party as well? I would say probably not. I know I wouldn't. For sure. When you're working with one agent representing both sides in a real estate transaction, same thing happens. Do you want to share your confidential info and have it relate to the seller? For example, you look at a house, the house is $600,000. You share with an agent that you may be able to go higher and they relate to the seller. So when you make an offer with them and make an offer for $590, the seller already knows that you are willing and able to actually pay $600 or more. Why would they accept your $590 offer, you ask? Ask yourself if you still want to go that route. So when my buyers come to me and they are not represented, meaning they don't have an agent they work with, that is typically the first conversation I like to have is, do you have an agent representing you? Do you have an agent who will work for you specifically with the fiduciary responsibility to you? If you don't, I'll be more than happy to recommend. But that's the job of the buyer's agent, to represent you and you only. Got it? Here is an important thing to know as well. All agents, just like the mortgage people, by the way, are paid commissions. Guess what? When you work with a buyer's agent, they don't get paid until you buy a house and it closes. It may take a week to find a house. It may take a month, it may take 6 months. Your agent works for you effectively for free until the home closes. Please be mindful of that, because us as mortgage people, same thing happens. We don't get paid until it closes, but that's not the point. The point is that we work for you. We have a fiduciary responsibility to you and to you only. We represent your best interest. So make the right choices. Yes, the listing agent will get actually double commission most of the time when they represent both sides. Speaking of, I've had people ask me over the years, if that's the case, if the listing agent gets double the commission, or as we call it in the industry, both sides of the commission, if I go straight to them, wouldn't they reduce the commission so I can get a better price? Or wouldn't the seller reduce the commission so I get a better price? Not necessarily. And most of the time, not really. Because in the contract, for the listing of the home that's signed between the seller and their agent, i.e. listing agent, the amount of commissions is spelled out. So the commission doesn't have to be reduced. And yet, it's not your interests that are being fully represented. How was your experience in buying a home? What are your thoughts about using the same agent for both sides, aka using the attorney for both sides in court? Would you? Comment below. Can't wait to read your comments. Talk to you soon. See you in the next video.